Hi, this is Morley, and this is the Wire. While the Oregon State Police are refusing to look after Portland anymore because the DA refuses to prosecute criminals, nothing spells the downfall of society when the district attorney of a state won't even prosecute people that are lighting fires, rioting, and generally just starting an insurrection. That's the Democrats for you, but I digress. Breaking: Oregon State Police abandoned Portland after local left-wing DA refuses to pursue criminal charges against rioters who attack law enforcement. Portland, Oregon now stands on the verge of collapse into total lawlessness and anarchy, all by design, as Oregon State Police are pulling out of the city and following the decision of the local district attorney to drop nearly all charges against rioters who violently assault law enforcement officials. Once again, a radical left-wing DA is deliberately plunging their own city into chaos, abandoning their duty to uphold the rule of law for the protection of the innocent residents of that city. In essence, Portland is now being plunged into the kind of lawless left-wing violence that characterized the Chaz Chop Zone in Seattle, which was openly allowed to be taken over by criminal terrorists with the blessing of Mayor of Seattle and the Governor of Washington, both of whom must face arrest and prosecution for treason. Portland, Oregon is about to become a third world war zone run by violent terrorists and gangs. This is what Democrats want because they hate America. Oregon State Police troopers are leaving Portland despite continued violence in the state's largest city, reports the Epoch Times. Captain Timothy Fox, a state police spokesman, told the Epoch Times that the decision stemmed from the district attorney overseeing Portland deciding not to pursue some criminal charges. The Oregon State Police is continuously reassessing our resources and the needs of our partner agencies at this time, and we are inclined to move those resources back to counties where prosecution of criminal conduct is still a priority, Fox said in an emailed statement late Thursday. Law enforcement has had enough, and they are escaping Portland while they still can. Collapse into anarchy is now imminent. Paraphrase: Captain Timothy Fox told Portland officials that if they won't lift a finger to uphold the rule of law, the Oregon State Police aren't going to keep risking the health and safety of its own officers to stop rioters and terrorists that appear to be fully supported by local Portland officials. We are now witnessing the willful collapse of Portland into lawlessness and anarchy, and by design, with the complicity of Mayor Wheeler and Governor Brown, both of whom are criminal traitors engaged in acts of open insurrection against the United States of America. If they will not uphold the rule of law and constitutional protections of equal justice under the law, then they are guilty of dereliction of duty and should be arrested and prosecuted for their treasonous crimes against the people of Portland. On the other hand, Portland is largely full of libtard leftists who voted for these so-called leaders, and they are essentially getting exactly what they voted for: chaos, lawlessness, murder, violence, economic collapse, and treason. When you vote for Democrats who hate America, you shouldn't be surprised when they use the power you gave them to destroy everything they can. That's their mission. Portland property values will now collapse, and so will the city property tax revenues and sales taxes. But there's no doubt whatsoever that Portland property values will now collapse in Portland as business owners and informed residents take every measure possible to flee the city before left-wing terrorists and rioters burn it to the ground. Probably while Ted Wheeler watches and applauds his new twisted progressivism. The term Democrat has now become synonymous with terrorism and stupidity, and we are watching Democrats all across America burn down their cities, plunging them into anarchy by cutting police funding and refusing to prosecute street criminals. These are all the same treasonous Democrats, remember, who also say no citizen should have a right to pull a gun for self-protection. So while the police flee the insanity and the citizens are banned from buying guns, the local Democrat politicians release violent criminals from the prisons who actually side with terrorists, rioters, and arsonists as they burn their own cities to the ground, when they claim all the problems are Trump's fault. At some point watching all of this, America must ask the obvious question. Is this what Democrats have in mind for the entire country if Joe Biden wins the election? They will disband all police, release all violent criminals from their prison, then declare anyone a racist if they refuse to allow their small business to be burned by the ground by Black Lives Matter rioters? Democrats have now crossed the line into the criminally insane, and no one is more criminally insane than Kamala Harris, who we now know took bribes from church officials to cover up heinous sex abuse crimes committed by church leaders. It turns out there's nothing Kamala Harris won't do for money and power, just like Newsom, Inslee, Brown, and granny-murdering Cuomo, and all the other left-wing Democrat governors who somehow think they're hurting Trump by plunging their own local cities into anarchy and economic collapse. These peoples are the true enemies of America. Maybe it's time Trump officially designated them as such that we could start clearing them out and restoring sanity to our nation's great cities. This is absolutely insane. People that are burning buildings down aren't criminals? Like what has become of America? I mean, this is completely dystopian already. I don't even know what to say anymore. Thank you very much for coming along to my video. I greatly appreciate it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. That would greatly help me out a lot. And God bless.